Hey, 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 welcome in to another edition of Versus. My name is Mark Harvard. I'm the Director of Marketing for Church Visuals, and this is a series we do where we take the top programs, the top methods, and we pit them against each other in the church environment. Now, the basic thinking behind this whole series is that some folks are just getting into church communication. Some folks maybe have a creative background in one area, but as that job grows, as that role grows, we end up having to kind of be a master of a lot of different things if you're in the church comms world. Maybe you're a graphics guy or a graphics woman and you don't know much about video editing. Maybe it's vice versa. Maybe you're really good at writing press releases and copy, but the visual part of it isn't all that great. So what we're doing this week is we are putting three of the top video editing programs against each other, and we're going to compare them a little bit. Real quick, this is live. So if you're watching us in the Facebook group, I would love to know what your favorite video editor is. I can see the comments. They're coming in right here. I would love to hear what your favorite video editor is. Is it Final Cut Pro? Is it Adobe Premiere? Is it DaVinci Resolve? We would love to know which is your go-to video editing program. So, we got After Effects getting a vote. So I'm actually not big on After Effects. I'm you have to be more of an animator to do After Effects well. I've seen it done very poorly, and I fear that my efforts will be considered very poor. So I leave that. It's almost like it's a very specialized form of video creation. That said, though, I do use a lot of After Effects built plugins, probably way more than I should. But it just with my turnaround, I don't have the time to create all these animations from scratch. I use a lot of plugins, and if you email me, I can find out. I can steer you toward a few plugins if that's what you want to use. But today we're talking about Final Cut Pro versus Premiere versus DaVinci. Now myself, I've been a Final Cut Pro guy for years. Like I graduated from Final Cut Pro. I graduated from iMovie. When the first iMovie kicked in, I got involved in iMovie. I was at a church in Birmingham, Alabama, and to really paint the picture, I got the church to buy their first iMac for me to do video editing on. I had a computer and I was doing like newsletters in Quark, and I got an iMac because we were starting a contemporary service. We knew we needed some video elements, and I was going to produce them. And so we got a lime green iMac. This is back when you had the big, they had the candy color ones. We had a lime green one that we got. The iMac DV is what they called it, and it came with a copy of iMovie, and that's what I started working in, was iMovie. And after I reached a certain point, I got Final Cut Pro, like the Final Cut Pro Studio. It came in a giant, like $700 box, and I was editing. I was working and shooting and videoing and editing weddings. I was doing like a side hustle. I was doing video editing for weddings, and so I got the Final Cut Pro. I was using a G4 tower, the big steel cage. Yeah, that's what I was working in. So I have been a Final Cut guy for a long, long time. We've got the After Effects guy said that you have to know it real well to be able to edit in it. Yes, for After Effects. That's very true. So what I want to go to first, let me share my screen real quick. What I want to go to is I would like to, we're going to pull up some different programs, and we're just going to walk through them a little bit. And we're going to start off with my old go-to. We've got Final Cut Pro, and I've opened up here in Final Cut Pro one of our major Easter products. This is called the Gardener, and it's really well done. One man, this is one of my favorite things we have at Church Visuals right now. Is this whole thing? We've got bumpers, we've got graphics, we've got a kids version of this for use in your kid men. I love this Easter visual package that we've got here. So I've been using this for quite some time. And just you set up your library over here. You set up your projects over here. And then you've got your different elements, your different media. You drag it in, you pop it in. Your audio is right there. Your video is right there. A lot of people have been using this for quite some time. And the thing that I like about Final Cut Pro is, one, because I've been using it for so long, I know where all the buttons are. There's a lot of overlap between all three of these programs, and it really is just figuring out where they moved this button to and that button to, or how they have this organized and that organized. The big thing with Final Cut Pro is they've just released a static timeline, which on something this short is not going to be a big deal. But they also have this this functionality called over here. It's over here. It's the voice isolation, and I use that constantly. If you're like me and you're in churches and you're shooting a lot of content, if you're in some of these big worship centers, big great halls, these big entryways, you're going to end up with some echo, and you can only mic so much. I mean, we use lav mics. I've got a really good shotgun mic that I use, but every once in a while you hit that situation where you just can't get away from the echo. You can't get away from the just from that little bit of outside distracting noise. And so that voice isolation feature can make you go from sounding like you're in a trash can to sounding like you are in a quiet, carpeted, well soundproofed room, and that you're absolutely just, you're professionally, mic'd, even when you're not in a situation when you really can be. It doesn't create audio, so if you try to shoot, right beside a busy highway, you're not gonna be able to filter out car noise. But if you've got echo problems, if you've got problems with allowed air conditioning unit or something, that voice isolation tool is fantastic there. And that is a big thing that a lot of people are really, really into when it comes to Final Cut Pro. For a long time, you had a lot of Hollywood pieces that were edited in this. I think I read somewhere that the TV show Scrubs was edited on set in Final Cut Pro. But yeah, it runs smooth, it runs clean. So yeah, I mean, now it's jittery here, but that's just the animation style, so don't freak out about that. You can make it louder. You can see there's a little bit of audio peaking right here at the bottom. But all in all, it's a really easy, straightforward program. The big criticism that a lot of people have with Final Cut Pro is the lack of innovation. Now, they've managed to keep up with a little bit of it with additions of extra programs like compressor and that sort of thing. But you have to go to an exterior program for that. Like if I want to export this as, this is full resolution here. But if I want to export it, at a lower res, maybe for social media or, for a website or something like that, I've got to go to another program called compressor. You can't do it from right here within this. That being said, you can set up timelines to be more of a vertical instead of a horizontal for things like reels and things like shorts and Instagram stories and all that. But overall, it's kind of been the same program for a while. There were rumors going around every time Apple does an event. All of the Final Cut Pro folks get a little worried because they're like, "Oh, is this the one where they're gonna announce that they're end of lifing it?" Because they just haven't done a lot with it lately. It hasn't been a big deal for Apple. It hasn't really taken a lot of the forefront. So yeah, that's Final Cut Pro. It's the one. It's close to my heart. It's what I've used forever and forever. It's stable. I know how to use everything. If I click over here, I'll show you my dirty little secret in that I have got way too many packages of plugins. I have way too many plugins. There's the generators. So many. But I mean, for me to get, like I said before, I don't have a lot of time to sit in After Effects and do all these animation packages. So if I want to add things like, animated bugs and animated text, that sort of thing, I pull one of these plugins that I've got a subscription to a few services that bring that in. So that, my friends, is Final Cut Pro. Once again, we are live. Jump in the comments. Let me know which is your preferred video editing program. Is it Final Cut Pro, Adobe Premiere? Maybe you're a DaVinci Resolve person. Maybe you just do everything on your phone right here, and you rely on InShot, which if you're editing more than a TikTok in InShot, props. I don't have that kind of patience. But yeah, let me know in the comments. I can see them right here. Let me know in the comments what your favorite and your preferred video editing program is, and I'd love to. We'll share a little bit of it. So let's minimize this, and we'll come back over here and look at DaVinci Resolve. This is a free download from Blackmagic, and if you've ever used Blackmagic stuff, a lot of this looks really, really, really for this is something that's really, really more for I'm sorry, I got distracted by text here. This is really bare basic bones, but there are some highlights here. I made an allusion earlier. If you think back in the day, you had a lot of Apple folks that were just rabid Apple fanboys. Then you had a bunch of PC folks that were Apple, Apple's bad, PC is way better. They fought back and forth, and they, the megahertz myth, and just it became like this awful Alabama, Auburn, Mississippi State sort of rivalry. And off to the side, you had a quiet but growing group off to the side that were using Linux, and they were, they kept to themselves. They just did their thing. They enjoyed being different. That's my impressions of DaVinci Resolve. It's off to the side. It's of the three players we're talking about today. They're the smallest, even though their company is mainly known for their hardware, their streaming, their mixing, their video mixing. We use two of their cameras here at my church, as well as an ATEM mixer. It's good stuff. It's professional quality stuff. The video editing, though, in Resolve, it's a free download. What I'm using is the free version, and it runs pretty well, actually. If you're just doing bare bones stuff, you've got all your tools over here for slicing and for mixing and that sort of stuff. But you've got right here, you've got your full library here. I can jump to any point in the full. You don't have to manipulate one timeline and bring it, zoom in, pull out, zoom in, pull out. This is your broadband scrub. Then you can come down here to be a little more I guess exact. One thing I had to get used to when I was playing around with this was that fact that I'm not pulling the cursor here. I'm not pulling your bar here over here. I'm not pulling it here. This always stays stationary. You're pulling the actual timeline this way and that way. You got your audio levels over here, and you've also got some really cool things. You saw my big list of the different all the different plugins I was using for titles here. So many of those are used. They come stock here in Final Cut. I mean in DaVinci. You got your call outs. You got your clean and simple animated things. You don't have to download near as many just to get by. So you've got all these different options that come in, and that is a problem. That don't look good, DaVinci. It quit unexpectedly. Um, it's a clean interface. It's basic. Um, the big thing that DaVinci is known for, and I'm pulling it back up again because I do want to show you this. The big thing that DaVinci is known for is their color usage. The color manipulation in DaVinci is actually really good. There are a lot of folks that will actually do all their editing in they'll do all their editing in Premiere or in Final Cut and then bring it over to DaVinci for color grading. So you've got this up right here. It's right here. Then you come down here, you click your color, and this allows you to go through, use your color wheels to adjust. You've got your curves, you've got keyframes set up to where you can actually, change to a different color profile at different points. It's, you can use different sorts of color bars. You can use log wheels. You can, whatever is the best way for your workflow. But that's what it's known for. If you are a color person, if you're someone who's really, really all about making sure you're setting a mood with color, because, you look at some of the big Hollywood movies and their color correction is what made them. Okay, and I'll give you an absolute example. If you jump online and you stream the Justice League, I know I would never push you to do it, but if you watch it like back to back, or just watch a little bit and then pull up the Snyder cut, they have two different color profiles. One's way warmer, one's way colder, and it changes the feel of the movie. The warmer is not going to feel as stark, but the colder one is going to feel a little bit more, I guess, edgier. So yeah, that's why color is important, and that's why a lot of people do tend to move to DaVinci, if not as their primary editor, but as just a color correction tool, because it actually does a way better job at color correction than Premiere or Final Cut Pro. So if that's your bag, go at it. So the final contender that we're pulling up here is Adobe Premiere. I'm using the 2024 version, and Premiere's got a lot of buttons. My criticism that I had for Final Cut Pro about there not being enough innovation, maybe they're being kind of dragging their feet with different stuff. Premiere knee jerks the entire other direction here, because I can pull, I import in the gardener. I pull it in, drag it here to my sequence here. I can go to any part here of the sequence. I've got my audio levels. Got my audio levels over here, and I can watch those, make sure they're cool. All your normal scrub buttons. I've got, my toolbar over here with my, eraser tool, my slip tool, my ripple effect. You can snap. One thing that's not in Final Cut Pro, that you can do this in Final Cut Pro, it's just way harder, is there's a rectangle tool. I can add rectangles of various colors here. Maybe I want to make it Church Visuals red or something. I can make that a thing and use that as an underlay for text. Yes, you can absolutely do that in Final Cut Pro, but you've got to drag in, you have to generate a full screen and make the shape, and it's right there. And I can choose an ellipse, a polygon. Just the simple act of being able to drag something in. So good. Oh my gosh. Also, maybe you've noticed all these words over here. Premiere will use AI and transcribe. I know, right? They'll transcribe the whole thing for you. You can take this, maybe drop it in Chat GPT to do some sort of summary, or maybe it's just a map for you. I want to go back to right where I was talking about sowing the seed. Okay, click it, go. I want to go down to now everything is being made in the garden. Click, done. Yeah, I know, right? Now, granted, because it's AI, there are a few things that you have to go back and change. Obviously, Mary Robert Knight, not correct. So you do have some problems that you've got to. You can't just put it completely on autopilot. But man, it saves a ton of time in doing this. So yeah, there's also built-in formatting for there's also built-in formatting in Adobe Premiere for different social media exporting. You want to export for different tools. You want to look at different quality settings. You can export right here from within the program here. Make it a vertical. That sort of stuff. You can do all kinds of things that allow for the most amount of options. Let's get rid of that. Go back here. So, you might be thinking, Mark, where are you at the end of all this? Well, as I said before, and I was having a conversation with Steve-O, our what does Shake awkwardly call him? The pro presenter Poppy. Yeah, I don't feel comfortable with that. I regret having said it just now, but apparently that's what we're going with in-house here at Church Visuals, and so, okay. But Steve-O, when he and I were talking earlier about me coming on and doing this webinar today, he talked about how, yeah, be nice, don't say bad things about Final Cut Pro, Smile Standard. That's what I use every day. But what I can honestly tell you is I am starting to look hard at Adobe Premiere. There are criticisms with Premiere. I know we saw Resolve crash earlier, but there's a lot of instability with Premiere because of as much as they update and it has some web-based components, there is some crashing possibilities. There's some instability issues that I know a lot of people. I see people online all the time griping about. I haven't experienced any of that so far. And I've done a few things just in my own research, my own playing around with things. I actually drug in one of our pastor's sermons from the previous week into Premiere and made it, into the TikTok size and everything. And there's an onboard motion capture or motion following function where you can just, it identifies the face and keeps that face in the frame. So I can just plop the sermon in, center it on him. If he decides to walk back and forth then the edit, Premiere will actually follow it and go back and forth. Instead of over in Final Cut Pro, where I've got to just follow him, keyframe, pull him over, keyframe. So yeah, I've got a big project coming up. I've got to work in. I'm still leaning toward using it in Final Cut Pro because I feel like that'll be better for my workflow. But I'm considering Premiere. I really am. So, just on the fact that it's made someone like me look twice in this competition of Final Cut Pro versus Adobe Premiere versus Resolve, I'm going Premiere. Premiere's the winner. Yeah, I gotta dress up these announcements. I gotta get, but yeah, that's where I'm going with. I'm going with Premiere on this. So that's our verses this week. We got more coming up. Don't forget, coming up Monday at 11:15, our guys Shake and Steve will be doing our power talk, and we've got a bunch of other training options coming up down the pipe. Check our website, churchvisuals.com/training, for our upcoming live events. And in the meantime, I will see you guys later. I'm Mark Harvard for Church Visuals, and remember, your visuals matter. Have a great day. God bless.